Hello and welcome to another episode of An African's Queen. My name is Caron Marguerite and I'm the host. I'm also an emotional intelligence coach and a management consultant. I'm joined today by an incredible Nigerian entrepreneur. He is a self-professed tech and sales enthusiast and represents quite a few different things in Nigeria. I'll leave it to him to tell you more about himself. Today's episode is a little bit different though, because this podcast purpose isn't just to interview interesting and exciting Nigerian entrepreneurs and showcase them to an international audience. It's also to tell the story of me and my family relocating from Melbourne, Australia to Lagos, Nigeria, and the story of how we are building our businesses from here before we leave. No small feat, I promise you. So my business is specializing in emotional intelligence coaching and consulting. To do this podcast serves to let you know more about me and the work that I do. And so far on the podcast, I've given you little snippets, little stories, but I haven't shown you behind the scenes, the level of thinking that's going involved to build this business. But that's what today is going to do, at least a little bit more. James has kindly offered me an opportunity to do a two-part episode. First part, of course, we showcase him and all the cool things that he's doing. And then the second half, we're going to workshop. Now, this is an opportunity for you to see me in action. I'll be asking James to role play as a quasi potential client because I want to pick his brain about the way Nigerian owners, business leaders think. What are their challenges? What are you facing that I'm from Australia not yet aware of? I want to be able to put together a suite of services that best match what you need, not just what I offer. So, join us on this journey of workshopping what it's like for me to learn more about my potential clients. Let's learn about James in multiple different ways. Welcome. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome to An African's Queen. James, how are you?
I'm fine, Karen. It's absolutely a pleasure being here with you.
Oh, it's so wonderful. So welcome to the podcast. You and I have known each other for quite some time now, but purely through LinkedIn messages.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
tell me about that for you, because I'm this random Australian trying to move to Nigeria, and we connected on that shared interest. What was it like for you to connect with somebody doing something as crazy as I'm doing with my husband?
All right. Thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me to your podcast. It is really an absolute pleasure to know someone as wonderful as you are, sincerely speaking. When it comes to the podcast you're doing, when it comes to your dreams and your aspirations of wanting to come to Nigeria to pursue your crazy career in quotes, as you've said, it is absolutely a valid dream. Actually, it's absolutely a valid thing to do. I think Nigeria needs a lot of enlightenment when it comes to emotional intelligence. When it comes to what you do, Nigeria needs a lot of that, a lot of your services, because of everything that is happening in the country at the present. People are not emotionally stable. People are not at the right place at the moment. So I think your services will absolutely be needed in Nigeria. So it's at least a wonderful and a valid dream. Even if you're the first person that I've heard that is wanting to do this, I think there is a space for you here.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really, really great to hear, and it's really reassuring. So I gave in our introduction for this podcast a little bit of an idea to our audience about the things that you're enthusiastic about, and I've also given them a heads up that you've agreed to be workshopped in a role play as a quasi potential client for me. So we'll do this in two parts today. But in this first part of our conversation, tell us a little bit more about who James is.
Okay. All right. first of all, as you can see, James is a fun-loving guy. But beyond that fun-loving guy, James is a tech enthusiast, a salesperson, a veterinary doctor, um, and a customer care specialist.
How did you get into technology? Tell us a little bit more about you, James, rather than you, the professional. What led you into tech and sales?
Okay. First of all, I'm an enthusiast. Like anything I do, I take it seriously, right? Um, Graduating from the university, right? In Nigeria, one thing in Nigeria is once you graduate from the university, the first question you ask yourself is what next? Now I'm done with the university. I'm done with my 6 years course. I've done my National Youth Service Corps. I'm a graduate. I'm a full, complete graduate. In Nigeria, right, after you graduate from a university, you're required to serve the country for a year. Yes. Now, this deployment can be, oh, okay, that is how it is. As a Nigerian citizen, every Nigerian citizen is something that it is compulsory for every Nigerian citizen to do. Once you've graduated from your university, right, it is required for you to serve, just like community service. It is required for you to serve the community for a year. Whether serving them as a teacher or serving them in different sectors or health sector, agricultural sector, depending on your area of study in school. So it's required you serve the community for a year before you can fully go into the labor market, before you can fully apply for jobs and all that.
Wow. How do you pay for that? How do you live?
Oh, okay. No, you're actually being paid, but it's a stipend. Actually, it's not really like a salary. It's just a stipend to cover your costs for transportation and feeding, right? So you're being paid for the duration of the year. You're being paid for the duration of that particular duration you're actually serving the community. Immediately I was done with that, I was like, what next? Because Nigeria doesn't present you opportunities. There are no already made opportunity for people, for graduates. So immediately, like, I know in some countries, right, before you graduate, there are companies that are coming in to seek for the best students before you graduate. But in Nigeria here, there is nothing like that.
You don't have internships?
We have internships, but it's not really common. Do you understand? It's not really
common. That's disappointing because there's such an amazing opportunity to tap into the future of, future thinkers and people, employees by utilizing those that are in university learning the very things. And how better not to stay current? Make sure your education is relevant if you are then given the opportunity to work a summer holiday or a summer break in an organization. Yeah. We have that here in quite a few different types of businesses, but we also have university programs that partner with big organizations with the intention to do entire subjects. So you might do a group assignment, but you're all working for the same organization, and the end report is something that business actually needs. Exactly. So you're getting real life industry experience before you graduate.
Yeah. Exactly.
And you don't have that there.
No. In Nigeria, we actually have something. It's called industrial training. Ours is not industrial training.
Okay.
In short form, it's called IT, right? So basically, and it's not all courses that actually does that. It's not all courses that does IT. The only courses that do IT are sciences and some few social and management sciences and education courses, right? So basically, the IT is just like, I think the IT is just like basically like the internship you say. But in this aspect, you're not yet a graduate from the university. Let's say the IT has been done a year before your graduation year. That's how it's been done in Nigeria. It's been done to bridge the knowledge gap, to bridge the theoretical aspect of the knowledge you've acquired during your stay in the school, and then the practical aspect of what you're expected to do with the knowledge you've acquired right? Yeah, so basically it's been done. And then one thing, it's not been taken seriously. People don't, the organizations you go to actually do your industrial training don't really take you seriously, don't really necessarily see you as a potential worker in that organization. They just want you to come and do your parts, do your part of the bargain and then just go. It's only in very few cases, it's only in rare cases that you see an IT student being retained by the organization of which he or she did their IT. You understand? So it is not really.
I find that so strange because we have so many opportunities for graduates to be invited back into the company's graduate programs that are specifically set up to take graduates so that they are starting on the ground up and they are given, every organization does it slightly different. However, they're usually given, projects within the organization and they're moved between different departments over a period of time. So you get to experience different parts of the business, different parts of what they do, and then get to find out what you're interested in and maybe where you want to work after the graduate program. So I see an amazing opportunity here for Nigerian businesses to really take hold of and create graduate programs because they should be holding on to the graduates as tightly as they can.
Exactly.
I find that strange that's not there and done.
Yeah, and then I think one of the best assets of Nigeria as a country, it's its people, right? Nigeria have a lot of bright, minded people that are not being tapped, that the government are actually overlooking. And then that is why you see Nigerians migrating out of the country to seek for better options where their talent is going to be appreciated. You understand? After my education, I was confused on what to do. So I started working as a customer care executive with MTN, as I've told you before. So I handle irate customers, customers that just comes and shout on you, pour their frustrations on you, stuff like that. And then imagine you coming from a very bad place. Imagine you coming with a very bad mood to work that day, and the customer is shouting on you, yelling at you. If not for the emotional intelligence training that we had, they had to act with decorum at all times, put yourself in the customer's shoes, stuff like that, empathy and rest of them. If not because of those things, right, I would have flared up on one of those customers one of those days. So it actually helped me a lot to emotional intelligence. I'm a huge testimony of how emotional intelligence coaching can actually help. You understand? Because it has made me to be a better person. It has made me to be the person that I am today. So I'm a benefit of emotional intelligence training, sincerely speaking.
That is really great. That is it's a really good example. Because it goes to speaking about emotional regulation.
Exactly.
Now, I don't think she listens to this podcast, so I might get away with telling this story, but my sister-in-law, she has a bit of a hot temper.
Yeah.
She's quick to fire. Now, every now and again, my husband likes to bounce this stuff off me, right? Because he is the one that receives their calls when they all hate each other. Or there's a problem in the family. He's the one that is there to put the fire out. And often, though, when they admittedly piss him off, he's like, I don't want to talk to them. I'm like, you have to. You can't avoid them. He's like, no, I'm not taking their call. I don't want to talk to them. And so what actually I do to help him appreciate is that, first and foremost, he's removed from the daily stresses of Nigeria. Now, we have our own stresses here. It's an extremely expensive country to live in, especially at the moment with increasing inflation. COVID around the world has done nobody any favors, and everybody is suffering. And yet he gets calls all day, all night, asking for help, asking for money. And the only line in the sand that I personally draw is with his mother and with the kids. He can absolutely hate anyone in his family, except he must talk to his mum, and we must take care of the babies. If their health is compromised, I don't care. I will not eat for a week as long as those babies are okay, you know. And in fact, they're not babies. They're older than my children. But I still won't let a disagreement between siblings come between a child's health, you know, if their parent can't afford the medicine. I won't. My conscience cannot, and neither can my husband's. And so he comes to me, and I am the voice of reason that helps him regulate his anger and his frustration in the same way that you learned to regulate your emotion when you had a angry customer.
Sure.
Emotional intelligence informs us in all situations, not just at work. Yes, knowing this information for ourselves helps us, but it also helps us in our teams, you know, so that we actually, not only do we know ourselves, but we know the emotional intelligence strengths and room for improvement in our team members. So we're actually a lot more forgiving of any shortcomings. And when I do the synergy workshops with my team, it's because they've done a 360 emotional intelligence assessment. So first and foremost, they know their own assessment in emotional intelligence, but then I do a secondary report that tells me the emotional intelligence of the team. Now that is the stuff of gold right there, because that tells me everything I need to know about how to work with that team to bring them all into alignment with each other so that they are coached into synergy and they genuinely want to support each other. They might start hating each other, but by the end of it, they understand each other on such a deeper level that there is so much more compassion.
Absolutely.
We very rarely take the time to get to know the people we work with. Genuinely getting to know them, because often we don't have time to, and that's fair. But when you take the time, that's when absolute incredible things happen, not just to productivity and the profit margin, but just employee engagement, you know, retention rates, all of it. Like across the board, there are improvements. And that's why I love emotional intelligence so much, because it informs who we are, how we are, and really how we show up. It makes us be the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, sure. That is absolutely correct. And then I believe that the importance of emotional intelligence can never be overemphasized, right? But then it is something that I think we need to create this awareness for companies, for organizations in Nigeria to actually know the importance, because sometimes organizations delay, staffs have been laid off very easily. Good staffs have been laid off very easily, right? Good staffs, those are staff that, you know, brings changes to the company's fortunes, revenues, and all that. But then, because of one reason or the other, they have been laid off. You see that the company shakes, right, before it balances. Because I'm absolutely 100% sure that they're going to employ your services. I understand. So basically, it's an important. Yeah, it is. It is actually. And then I believe. I believe it is huge. It is a huge prospect for them. It is something that I know a lot of people are looking forward to, because I have friends that owns huge organizations that actually been complaining of how to retain staff and all that and all that and all that, and that it's been very difficult for them to do over a period of time. So yeah, I think one of the reasons why they've been unable to retain staff, it is the period of attitude, right, from the staff attitude and all that. So I believe with emotional intelligence coaching, it can actually help to improve their retainability and inversely leading to
That's
increments in
exactly
revenue
right.
for them.
I mean,
Yeah,
put it this way, right? You could include emotional intelligence assessments in the recruitment pipeline, so that
exactly. I think that's
you're actually building an emotional intelligent organization from the ground,
yeah,
like from the top. You know,
yeah.
one of the years ago now, but one of my clients brought me in and just for himself, and he was a CEO and very small business, but growing quickly. And so one of the focuses was on his emotional intelligence and then his senior managers, and then gradually we
Yeah.
worked down into the teams, and that almost triangular hierarchical structure meant that the culture shifted throughout the
Yeah,
entire organization in a very
of course. Short period of time.
naturally organic way. It was
Yeah,
slow, but
yeah,
it was slow
yeah.
because it needed to be an organic growth experience.
Process. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, change management isn't something you can just snap your fingers and it happens. Cultural shift doesn't happen overnight. Mindset shift from fixed mindset to growth mindset isn't something like you can flick a switch. It has to be trained. It has to be opened and exposed, and that has to start with the leaders of an organization. I won't work with a company unless I know the leaders are people I'm working with first. And I'm really strict on that because I cannot change a foundation if the head isn't thinking.
That's a problem. Yeah,
Pure and simple.
I totally understand. Yeah.
So I love this idea of a proposal. I think it's a fantastic idea, and I shared with you in our messages my concerns with, because I don't know what I don't know about Nigeria, the way Nigerian entrepreneurs think. That's part of the reason why I have this podcast. But it's also a little bit more than that, right? I'm not in Nigeria. I'm not working yet with Nigerian businesses. And so I have to produce something for you to assist me in bridging that gap. So far, this podcast has really been sharing in snippets, really, what the process is like for me to, you know, work towards moving my family to another country, to Lagos, to Nigeria. And that process, that journey has been painfully slow. Yeah. And I think I want to give some context for my audience so that you can appreciate as well why it's been such a long journey and a slow journey for me. You know, aside from having, you know, my wonderful husband and trying to be a dutiful wife, I'm, you know, I've got those two small little kids. I've got, I'm studying an MBA online. I'm studying a positive psychology coaching course. I'm working full time. God, I'm dealing with just life. Hashtag life tax.
You have a lot in your hands.
Yeah, and there's also my husband's businesses, as we talked about, the farm and some other stuff that he's wanting to do in Nigeria as well. Essentially, though, one of the challenges that I had when we first started talking about this proposal wasn't just all that life is right now. Like a few months ago when we were talking about it initially, honestly, life was kicking my ass and I wasn't coping, and I had to just let a few things go. But I also realized, speaking about emotional intelligence and being honest right now, like I was also telling myself some pretty huge limiting belief stories about what I was capable of achieving in Nigeria from Australia. Now, as you
Mm-hmm.
just said, the emergence of technology has taken that away. But
Yeah.
what really came from that awareness and the journaling that I did to learn it was that I didn't know what I didn't know. And so what I want to do with you
Mm-hmm.
now is a process of essentially putting you into a role play of a quasi potential client, right? Pretend that you are coming to me for my services. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
feel free in your role play to make up the answers. Don't feel you have to say it exactly as you are, because obviously
Mm-hmm.
this is live and being recorded, and
Yeah.
I want to protect your privacy. Um,
Sure. Sure.
but what I want to be able to showcase is how
Mm-hmm.
I go about determining what is a right fit or an assessment for right fit for my services for um, Nigerian businesses. Okay.
Sure.
So in
Sure.
this role play, I want you to think about maybe one in particular business owner,
Okay. Okay.
someone you know particularly well. Don't name them
Okay.
at all. Just think about them in your mind so that you are almost wearing their jacket, their persona.
Okay.
Okay. And so, what I want to understand from you, now that you know and understand what I do, what are you looking to achieve?
Okay. All right. I understand that you're an emotional intelligence coach, and then what I'm looking forward to achieve is to achieve a system whereby my staff are emotionally intelligently aware. They are aware of their emotions. They are aware of their limitations. They are aware of their beliefs. They are aware of what can actually hinder them from doing their jobs effectively. You understand? So basically, right, I'm just looking forward to what I'm looking forward to is how to improve my overall staff. You understand? How to improve my overall behavioral pattern of my staff, behavior of my staff towards work and in their personal lives as well. Is that understandable? Do you understand me, or is you need more
Yeah,
elaboration?
don't worry about the silence. I'm taking notes.
Okay. Okay.
Towards work and life. Good. I like to take notes because I don't like to rely on my memory. I like
Sure.
to make
Sure.
sure that I'm hearing you.
You get me.
And what I want you to expand on then is
Mhm.
what are the challenges that you have right now?
Okay. Currently, one of the biggest challenges currently that we have right now is office politicking. Office politicking, because sincerely speaking, it's a huge cancer. It's a huge problem. People are not doing their jobs for the sake of doing their jobs, right? People are not doing their jobs because they love their jobs. They're doing their jobs to please the owner of the organization, and in so doing, you're not getting the quality of service from them, because they will do whatever they feel like you would appreciate instead of doing what they feel like it's right for the organization,
Mm.
right? In other words, we call them yes men, right? There's a lot of yes men around the office, and then it's really absolutely affecting the job. You understand? We need competent people in top positions, managerial positions, the HR positions, um, and then competent people in the manufacturing side, manufacturing positions. Those are the programmers and the coders and all those. We absolutely need competent people, not people based on sympathy. You understand? One thing that politicking does to a business, it absolutely creates favors from the boss, from me. You understand? So basically, right, I do not want people to come tell me that whatever I'm doing is right. I want people to be honest with me, to tell me that, okay, this direction you're going to, is not the proper direction. Tell me where I'm wrong, tell me where my flaws are and all that, so that I will be able to perform to the best of my ability and my capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's, basically.
Yeah, it does. I know exactly what that speaks to. Yep. That speaks to the power dynamic in Nigeria. So
exactly.
Power distance in a culture is the distance by which subordinates are distanced from their boss and vice versa. So there is, it was actually a post I put on my LinkedIn last week that speaks to exactly that thing. And so the boss is the autocrat, and is the totalitarian. You do what they say, but you don't get any collaboration, you don't get any conversation, your communication back and forth. And firstly, the boss is never allowed to be wrong because they're always right.
Always right.
Absolutely. Is that your experience? You're always right. You're never wrong. Nobody ever questions you.
Yeah, basically right. That is absolutely my experience. No one questions me. Whatever I say, it's last. And then sometimes it baffles me if I'm doing everything correctly. You understand? Because I know that I'm a human being. I can't get everything right. I can't get everything correctly. I expect my mistakes to be pointed out whenever I'm making one. You understand? But the people I'm having around, but the people I'm having around me, they don't point out my mistakes. Instead, they say yes to whatever I say. And then I feel like personally, if I'm going to have their honest opinion on things and on subject matters, I believe that things are going to be done a lot differently, and then which is in return going to bring more positive results. Because I understand, I know where I'm right. I know where I'm right. When I'm right, I know that I'm right. And I want things to be done that way. But when I'm not certain, I want people to tell me that, okay, fine, this thing you're about to do is absolutely not correct. Do it this way, do it this way. Not people that will go by my opinion. Because I might not be certain of what I want to do. But if you should point it out to me that, okay, and say, okay, this thing you're about to do, it's not going to lead you to the right path, I believe I will greatly appreciate that. I think that is one of the huge problems I'm having today.
So you've talked to it a little bit. I want you to expand. How is that a problem for you right now?
Okay, it's a problem for me because I'm spending a lot of money on projects, right? Spending a lot of money on projects that I'm not sure of. Those monies can be channeled to projects that I believe have been well researched by a competent individual, right? Right. And then thereby leading to increase in revenue. You understand? So basically, when I'm not sure of doing some things, and then you agree with what I presented, I believe it's going to lead to, what if it turns out to be wrong? And then it leads to loss of money. You understand? So I believe that when I'm not sure, when I bring out a suggestion or an idea, I believe that you should tell me the way it is. If it's not going to work, tell me it's not going to work. Don't just say yes to everything I bring out.
Perfect. So let's shift focus a little bit. I want you to consider then, in terms of your ideal future, right? When you imagine everything is just how you want it and it is working really well, you're making oodles of money, what would you like to see happen?
In terms where everything is working well, my ideas are working well.
Not just your ideas, but what would you like to see happen in this future vision of your business? What would you like to see happen in terms of this problem that you're experiencing? What do you want to see happen?
Oh, okay, exactly. What I actually want to see happen is that I want everybody to be free with me. That is the first. I want to have this. I want to be able to have an honest conversation with my staff, right? An honest review of what I do. of my ideas, like an honest opinion, right? Whenever I'm drifting out of the way, I want you to be honest with me and then tell me that, okay, fine, James, you're moving out of the way. This is not how you should do this. We should do it this way. We should do it this way. Though it's not going to dent on my ego, right? I'm definitely going to see the positives of you being free to want to be able to tell me the truth, want to be able to tell me my wrongs, right? So I will absolutely love that. And then I will absolutely love the fact that, you see things from different perspective to how I see things. We mustn't have the same perspective. We should have a different perspective, and I also should have a different perspective. Yeah, basically that is it.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking of that, what's the most important aspect about that for you?
All right. The most important part of it, I believe, will be when all these things have been properly done and been put in place, right? It is going to increase my revenue, number one. I believe so. And then two, it can invariably reduce my cost of let's say, let me put it in production aspect now. It's going to invariably reduce my cost of production. So that is why this is absolutely and it's going to reduce my cost of expenses when it comes to experimenting. Right. One of the greatest problems that I have is not being sure of what I want to do, and thereby leading to like an experimental goods or product. Now, but if I'm sure of what I want to do, with the help of other people, right, I wouldn't just venture into it for experimental purposes. I'm doing this for real. Mm-hmm. You understand? I'm doing this for real. I'm not just doing it for experimental. So it's going to cut down the cost of production for me. I don't know if you understand. Does it make any sense?
Absolutely. No. I've got lots of experience with sort of agile ways of thinking, lean methodologies, human-centered design. My first business was working in that space. So I've worked with lots of startups. I've done lots of workshops facilitating all sorts of user design journeys and journey mapping and things like that. But, and also just brainstorming ideas and using different tools from organizations like IDEO, etc. Business model canvas, etc., right? Now, what that doesn't tell me is the most important aspect of that solution. Now, if I recap, it will increase your revenue. Yeah. It's going to reduce that cost of production. Okay. And really, though, what we're unpacking here is that you're really not sure. And your team's just not telling you the truth. And you're not really confident in what they're saying to you is what actually you need to hear versus what they're saying to you to keep the boss happy.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So let's fast forward. I've gone ahead and I've supported you and coached you because right now you're the problem. You're the one with the problems with communication. You're the one that hasn't given your team permission to be honest with you. But let's go ahead and celebrate that we've achieved that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
How will you know? How will you know we've achieved it? What indicators will you have that we've achieved it?
Okay. Basically, the first one is going to be me being free with my staff to discuss their personal challenges. Because sometimes one of the greatest divides between bosses and the subordinates is the ability of the subordinate not being able to communicate their innermost challenges and problems with their bosses. And that could actually hamper on them carrying out their responsibilities as subordinates, right? So I will give in more ears to, I'll be more empathic. Let me use the word empathy, more empathic, more putting myself in their shoes to know what they feel, to get their honest review about themselves, to know what they're going through. That will be one. And then two, I will know that I'm coming from a position, I will not be biased towards whoever my staff is. That biasness is going to go away. Yeah. That I will know that yes, I've come up to the terms of being emotionally intelligent. And then thirdly, of course, the most important one, increase in revenue. My revenue is definitely going to double. I think that is the most important thing, because people underestimate the importance, as I've said earlier on, people underestimate the importance of emotional intelligence, right? You know, emotional intelligence is absolutely very important. It can increase your revenue if you want it to, and if you want it to, it can destabilize your revenue as well, right? Just from the initial example I've given you, right? Imagine me having staff that are not being entirely honest with me, but just going by my own ideas, and then me putting in money into where I'm not supposed to put in the money, and then the money goes to waste. That is loss of money. It's not increasing my revenue. But once you're emotionally intelligent, you're open to new opinions, new objectives, and all that. You know, you tend to find more value for your money. You understand? You tend to get more value for your money. I think those are important. Those are very important, very necessary.
Good. So let me recap. Right.
Yeah.
In terms of the challenges that you're experiencing, you're feeling as though really what it all boils down to is that your staff, your team, your management can't be honest with you. You don't feel that you can be honest with them.
Yeah.
And in fact, if we really unpack it, there is a lack of vulnerability in your team.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're not able to be transparent and tell each other the truth. And as a direct result of that, you're not able to experience true innovation in your organization because you are spending money on costs because nobody's telling you that your idea is a stupid idea.
Exactly.
To put it bluntly, you want to feel that you're able to be empowered, but also empower your team.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah, it's a give and take. I said it's a give and take.
And it is a give and take. And so once we have achieved this method of communication, this vulnerability, this permission in communication between each other, what's the next challenge that you want to solve?
All right. The next challenge is toxicity on the office space among the staffs. Among the staff. One of the reasons, one of the things that hamper productivity in a team or in an organization is toxicity. Imagine the manager. Let's say, for example, I have a manager for business. A team lead for the business development section of my company, and then she always wants things to be done her own way, right? She doesn't communicate. She's just been, let me use the word, sorry for using the word, she just wants to be bitchy, right? She just wants things to be done her own way. Not necessarily trying to put your ideas into perspective, right? That could lead to friction. That could lead to friction in that team. You understand? And then invariably, it's going to bring the production, the productiveness of that team. Is going to hamper the productiveness of that team. It's definitely going to hamper the productiveness of that team. So basically, right, it's going to create a toxic environment for that team. This is going to lead to workers not being wanting to come to work because of their bitchy boss. Workers not been wanting to contribute on ideas, right? Because they feel like, oh, even if I bring my own idea, it's not been accepted in the first place. So why would I contribute? Right. So, and then
Can
lastly,
I pause you there, please? No, what were you saying? What's your last thing, and then I'll recap you.
Oh, okay. And then lastly, it's not going to give you that you're working, and then there's no room for growth for you. Do you understand? Because someone up there, just is making sure that is not happening. So, and this overall disadvantage is going to lead to the worker losing interest in the company, and then at the end of the day, worker leaving. So loss of very good, and that person might be a very good person, a very good at what he does or what she does. But then because of that toxicity in the environment, and it's going to lead to all this. Yeah, basically that is what I'm trying to say.
All right. So these are two really great examples of where I know I can help. I absolutely know. First and foremost, I know that I could work with you as a business owner to make sure that we could open up the doors of communication between you and your team in the ways that you need to produce the solutions that you desire. I also know that I can work with that manager in ways to support that manager to better understand him or herself, because remember, we're talking hypothetical, right? But to better understand themselves so that they can be aware of their impact on others and learn how to regulate their emotions and better communicate their frustrations, right? What I'd like to know is, if you could ballpark figure, throw it out, just an arbitrary number if you know it, what is this problem costing your business?
It's really costing my business a lot because of the lack of unity in teams, the lack of synchronizations between teams, right? It's really causing the business, number one, to be stagnant, right? And then number two, it's stagnant in the sense of production of new goods, production of new products, making of new products, and then invariably leading to cost of revenue, leading to loss of revenue, because salaries are being paid without any proper productivity, without any proper result for the salary, right? So of course, it's costing a huge loss. I wouldn't like to put it in terms of figure. I wouldn't like to put it in figures, right? But it's actually costing a huge loss to the company. It's a huge loss.
Entertain me. I want a dollar figure. Give me a nearer amount per quarter. Let's say every 3 months. What's this costing you?
Okay, within 3 months, it's invariably costing about, now Nigerian. You should know that Nigerian million into Australian dollars is not huge. It's so it's costing like about, let's say in 3 months, it should be costing about around 60 million naira.
Say that again. 600 million naira.
60
million, right?
Yeah.
240 million naira per year.
Exactly.
I promise you, I'm not that expensive.
Exactly. So how much are your charges? How much are your charges?
I don't get into figures on a podcast, that's for sure. But it is a really good example, though, that what you've just highlighted. And firstly, let me pause, James, and just say huge thank you for that workshop experiment. That was fun. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thanks, I enjoyed it as well.
Good. I'm glad. But it's a really powerful way to showcase how much it's costing. And as you saw, as your answer spoke to, it's not costing so much as money as it is costing money, but it's actually costing in people and productivity
Sure.
and profit, right? And if you don't have your people being the best versions of themselves, you won't produce the best outcomes, and you won't make the profits that you're capable of making.
Sure.
And it's as simple as that. It really does boil down to get your people being the best versions of themselves. And that starts with you as the business owner being the best version of yourself.
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, and that was why I highlighted that. As a business owner, I can make myself more accessible to my workers, more approachable to my workers, so that they can be able to communicate their vulnerable. They should be vulnerable with me to be able to communicate their problems with me.
Yeah, they'll recognize that's not going to happen naturally, right? You have to be the change that you want to see in them.
Sure.
You have to be able to be willing to let your guard down and be vulnerable.
Okay.
And also recognize that Nigeria, being a collective society, is very much around making sure that you are protecting yourself from shame and judgment.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
And yet what you're talking to asks you to be a much more individualistic society that reduces the power distance so that the authority and the subordinate are more equal.
Yeah.
That's going to take time because you're working against a societal, structural, cultural challenge. Yeah.
Sure.
And where I can come in is I've got the experience of your ideal state. So I know where to get you to, and together we work towards shifting that cultural dynamic.
Sure.
Yeah. Good.
Absolutely.
We can do that. Awesome.
We can, actually. Absolutely, we can.
All right. Now, I have kept you for a long time, and I'm really incredibly grateful for our amazing conversation. We have ebbed and flowed and gone all over the place, and it's been really great. I've loved our two-parter. I'm looking forward to my dear video producer, Sele, cutting and pasting this. He's going to have an absolute ball, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now, before we sign off, is there anything else you'd like to ask me, or is there anything else you'd like to know?
Yeah, most importantly, I haven't asked you your background, your educational background. I haven't asked you that.
Yeah, well,
your work experience as well.
Oh gosh, we don't have all night, unfortunately, and I've got an incredibly varied background. I have done a lot of things in my life, and I'm very blessed to have had a lot of experience doing lots of things. My education background.
Yeah, I'm listening.
My education background is, obviously, you know that I'm doing my MBA, so I'm nearly finished that.
Yeah.
I've got a graduate certificate in entrepreneurship and innovation. I am a master practitioner of neurolinguistic programming, timeline therapy, hypnotherapy. I'm studying now positive psychology coaching to gain my International Coaching Federation credential. In attaining my master's for business admin, I have already got my graduate certificate in business admin. And I've got a couple of other smaller qualifications in there. I've got a certificate in project management. I have some smaller certificates that are in, there's one called change readiness. There's lots. But I am a forever learner. I pick up things like you described yourself as an enthusiast. I'm forever learning and applying myself to lots of different things. And
Yeah.
of course, how could I forget being certified in emotional intelligence as well? Kind of important. But what it means to be certified in emotional intelligence isn't just the theory, it's the ability to do the practical assessments. So enable people to do an assessment on themselves, which is a 60 to 90 minute questionnaire, or run it within your team so that you can have 360-degree feedback. And from there, I'm able to do reports and debriefs and workshops to really get into what we were talking about before, about creating that synergy with ourselves in terms of our self-awareness, but also just as a team, bringing us all together, and as a company, being an emotionally intelligent organization.
That is absolutely beautiful. That is absolutely rich and beautiful.
Good.
That is so nice.
Right. Well, I've got some work to do to put together a proposal for you, it looks like.
Okay, sure. Very important. Very necessary. Yeah.
Good. I just wanted to extend my gratitude to you once more. This has been a fantastic conversation. I've learned a tremendous amount, and I'm incredibly grateful to you and your time and your generosity.
I am sincerely grateful for having me on our podcast. It has really been a lovely time with you, and I'm looking forward to having more of these conversations with you.
Yeah, me too. Should be great.
Yeah.
All right. Until soon. Thank you.